Welcome everyone to our almost final session of the day, a very, very, very important session today. We're having return of the GACK. You know the drill, cameras are welcome but optional, it's up to you. You can rename yourself and include name plus chosen pronouns, and you can find the code of conduct in the link that I will be sharing shortly in the chat. Just a second now. Now, this is the return of the GAG. This session is an invitation to revisit the original Game Arts Curatorial Kit that was first started in 2019 in the online edition. We'll be featuring the official presentation of its physical edition. Really looking forward to that. I already have mine in the back. It was released early this year. We will then explore the next steps, updating the content to tackle new challenges in video game curation and fostering sustainable communities. Join us in shaping the future of the GAG and contributing to this ongoing production. And today, the hosts are the speakers. They have total control, Chaz, Evans, and Angelo Careri. I'll be pasting the videos in the chat. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Lou. Hello, friends. It's a privilege to be speaking with you today about the Game Arts Curator's Kit, a project that I didn't really realize was going on for half a decade until I was preparing for this talk. A whole half decade of kit making has been going on, and I'm here representing the past of the GACK, and Angelo's representing the future. And so are you. You are also representing the future by being here. I have some slides here, which I'll make available eventually, so that because there's relevant links here. All right, can you see my slides? Great. So I have a little 10-minute presentation that we're going to call The Story of the GACK thus far, the GACK being an acronym standing for the Game Arts Curator's Kit. All right, first of all, who am I? If some of you I may know, some of you I don't. About a little over a decade ago, I co-founded a arts organization that supports artists who makes video games in Chicago called VGA Gallery, and I did a lot of exhibitions and events with that group up until 2023. I'm still associated with that group, although the creative leadership has moved on to the fearless Eleanor Schichtel, and now I am on a more scholarly path as the assistant professor of media at the University of South Carolina. But the reason I'm talking to you today is that I was one of the GACK project coordinators of what has already happened. So what was this project? If you are new to it, or perhaps need to remember, maybe you were involved in it and you want to refresh in what it actually is that we did. It was and is a practical guide to inform and inspire and equip new video game curators joining the field. This was our main goal, is to make sure that other people joining video game curation didn't have to start from scratch, but could learn from previous generations. So that's also supposed to be the collected knowledge of games curators working in different parts of the world over the 2010s. This also functioned as a group writing and bonding exercise. The actual doing of the thing grew relationships that I think are valuable, and that kind of thing can be valuable again. But outside of those goals, it's nice. The GACK is nice because it's a tangible product that has been made through the Gaia network. And the Gaia sessions, these symposia, are wonderful for making relationships. This is one of the non-human objects that has been produced from Gaia network affiliations. And we'll talk about how you can actually get your hands on that product itself. Here's a very long list of the people who have contributed to the GACK thus far. As you can see, it's a lot of people, who are all appreciated. And if you see these slides and you did work on the project and you don't see your name there, please let me know. Let's talk about how it all started. The first mention of this very idea was in 2019, the very first Gaia in-person meeting. And there was a sort of work session, idea session. That picture to the right is not actually us talking about the GACK for the first time, but that image is from the same day of us talking about the GACK for the first time. Some ideas were pitched, and it was an exciting idea, but it just sort of hung there as a more diffuse idea until 2020, when Gaia leaders kind of requested that there be some project leads to spearhead and organize. And that ended up being me and Renee Cepeda. And oh, wait, that jumped to 2021. There was actually an attempt at the group to just sort of self-organize and start writing. The idea was that we'd each choose a topic, we'd write about it, and then we'd sort of pass our draft to someone else in the group for editing. That first stab at writing was done in the sort of early part of 2020, and things slowed down for obvious historical reasons. But in 2021, that's when some leadership was appointed, and we had an online kickoff meeting to actually get a large group to work on it at the same time in a coordinated effort. So what did we do? First, we got a survey going to poll the whole Gaia group about their interest in if they want to participate in the project, what topics they wanted to write about, to collect the knowledge of what it is to curate games, and then we worked all together, across the internet through this three-phase writing exercise structure where people were assigned first drafts on certain topics. That lasted for a couple weeks. And then those drafts were handed to somebody else who also had expertise in that same topic for editing it. And that happened for a few weeks. And then there was a third phase where those drafts of writing on individual topics were just whatever sort of like wasn't done was just kind of cleaned up and fixed. And then we actually had a big batch of very valuable writing on all number of topics of curating. Things like, what are our goals when we curate games? What are the themes that come out of an exhibition? Who is it that's involved? Where do you actually put up an exhibition? And so on and so forth. So all of the writing that came out of that exercise was self-published to this particular website. And this is a friendly wiki that is still available for you to peruse and enjoy. But then things got more exciting because we found other ways to get the word out about the GACK. And then there was another sort of more formal scholarly publication route. So anyway, this still exists and that link still works. So you can see sort of where we originally self-published this online. But along the way, Renee and I had the opportunity to write up a review of the process of how to manage several dozen people writing about different topics about video game curation across the world, and that got compiled into this peer-reviewed article. So that's available in this anthology that was published by Transcript Publishing. So if you are curious about more about the process that I just mentioned in a three-phase writing exercise, that was kind of recorded in a way that's now like, a part of the university library structure. But this is like paramedia. This is not the GACK itself, but this is an essay about the GACK. But finally, there was a dream to have a print edition of all of the work that we did in 2021. We found a strategy for doing that, which was framing all of the writing from the GACK as a special edition, a special issue of a pre-existing scholarly journal called the Video Game Art Reader that is edited by Tiffany Funk. And that journal had a relationship with a academic publisher, which is Amherst College Press. So it was a pretty sweet deal that to no cost to Gaia or its delegates or the people who worked on this project, we could have a print edition. And luckily, both this edition, that is, you could just purchase the actual book from this particular link, but this, as well as the anthology I mentioned a moment ago, are both already, without having to negotiate for it, open access. So there are electronic versions, EPUB and PDF of the very nicely, paginated and designed versions of the Game Arts Curator's Kit that now everybody has access to. forever and ever. And since this is a part of a university press, this should also be discoverable and searchable in university libraries. I think maybe within a couple minutes, I'll mention a few other takeaways and themes that came out of this whole process that happened over 5 years. Maybe I could stop sharing in order to do so. I'll mention that there is this product. It is an actual book that is printed on actual paper, which is nice. But I want to stress that is valuable. But what was perhaps as valuable, if not more valuable, was having a thing to do together across electronic meetings and Google Docs and a wiki. We wrote and then edited each other's writing. A different sense of relationship, I believe, did develop across the Gaia network. That's one valuable reason to think about doing such an exercise again. There were certainly, it's nice that it did in fact happen and succeeded. There are always ways to review and think about how things could have been done better. One thing that I definitely feel like the project lacks is translation. The fact that it is only in English, I think, is definitely something that, it's not what we wanted. Our goal was to have multiple languages, and we applied for grants that didn't pan out, so that's still sort of a goal undone or left unfinished. And then I remember the other takeaway from a lot of participants in the first writing exercise was that we were all working inside this wiki that was sort of immediately publicly published. And I remember getting some feedback from some participants that we might as well just be doing this in shared docs like Google Docs, and that the intermediary wiki is perhaps unnecessary. So I remember that there are always lessons and things we can take away from the earlier version of this exercise to make things better should a group want to continue. So those are some preliminary comments, just getting everybody up to speed about what it is this thing is. And I'll share my slides into the chat so that you have access to those links and you can get the materials that already exist. So that is, yes, the ghost of the GACK past. And I now kick it over to Angelo, who has some words about the GACK future.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much, Chaz. Just going to share my screen. So, first of all, I want to point out that Pablo made this picture, is actually in the audience, so thank you very much. Very briefly, who am I? So I'm a teacher, I'm a writer, and I'm an editor. Mostly, I'm part of Gaia because of the Immersion journal that I co-founded. It's a paper journal about the intersection of video games and art. So many of us here are creating games or are designing exhibition to show games. And I am kind of the book guy, and I know there are other book people here. So what I like to do is to collaborate, to create books, zines, journals. I like to write about your festivals, whatever involves writing. And this is what got me to this idea of doing a GACK too. So first of all, very important question, should we do it or should we not? Maybe we shouldn't, because I can think of a million reasons that we shouldn't. Maybe some of you feel the same. For example, it has already been done. Maybe that's a good reason not to do it. And can we really improve it? Third reason I would think is like, it takes time. Writing is hard. It's lonely. Obviously, it's not paid. Also, another reason is it actually useful? Do people read it? Do people use it? Still, I think Chaz and I think that we should do that. So maybe some of you also think like that. But I personally ask myself those questions before any editorial project that requires my collaboration, is that, do we really need it? Well, I think that we need it. I didn't have a picture of some Gaians reading the actual GACK book, so I put a picture of people reading the Marie book instead. A very short anecdote. personal anecdote here. I remember when I was in the online session, I think it was in 2021. It was exactly the same thing as now. And I remember that I knew no one. I saw the 40 names of everyone, and I felt very weird because I didn't know no one. Then the GACK got me involved into Gaia, actually. I was a writer, I wrote an article, and then I was invited to a real meetup and I met everyone. And now it's so nice to see that in the chats are so many people that have become friends. So I think that one of the good things that GACK is that it's an actual project that is very concrete where we can all collaborate together. And also I feel that, you know, there are so many different perspective experiences in Gaia. And it's interesting to put them together, to confront them. And also, since mainly most of you are creating events, I think it's important sometimes that we record it, that we keep a trace. So the GACK is the core concept of GACK is that it's participatory, is that people that are involved in it decide what it is. So you decide what it is. Still, my work here is like to get you sort of excited. So I was thinking I would speculate, I would use my imagination about what we could do for Game Art Curator Toolkit 2, because it has to be, if we have to make it, it has to be something new, something different. So very important thing that I want to say is that everything that I'm going to say now is probably not going to happen. It's just some random ideas, thoughts that the aim of that is to get you excited. Also, maybe I'm not seeing the chat right now. Maybe we could share the form that we made so that you can give us your valuable email contact if you want to participate. And I think it's a very important thing to do. So what could GACK2 be? First of all, I was thinking obviously about playfulness, you know, because we are here and our work is to design playful experiences. So maybe a book about playful experiences should be playful, right? Sounds kind of logic. So we can think about exercises in curation design. We can think of a website or a book that is like participatory. And this is a starting point that could make it really nice, I think. Second idea is art, because, you know, game art, you have the art part. So a lot of us are really good at drawing, at doing some interesting stuff. And I'm thinking here very fast stuff, not like something that would take a lot of time. We know that we like to do things fast. We like to not spend too much energy on something. So maybe it can be fun to have some little sketches here and there. I'm sure that lots of you are really good writers and some of you also are really good artists. Third thing I was thinking about is actually interviews. Well, maybe there are some very experienced curators or artists that actually don't have the time to write something, but still their input would be very valuable, because many people here, including people that are here now, have made some important events, exhibition, and sometimes interviews are a good way to talk about past events. And also it can be easier to read. It can be nice to read an interview. Next idea, I call it the curation of curations, because obviously if we want to create this book about the knowledge of curating, maybe we should curate some sort of shows that happened in the past or that are actually happening in the present, because we have many festivals now that are very regular, that are happening every year. So maybe we can put some kind of a directory. And also maybe we can put the light on important, very different kind of events that happened in the past, somewhere like gaming nights, somewhere festivals, museum, and others, etc., etc. So I think that could be nice. So now that this gets a little bit more controversial. So because, you know, this is the Game Art Curator Toolkit, and a toolkit, it's like a wiki. It's supposed to be simple. It's supposed to be something that you can use very easily. Still, I think many of us are aware that there are some ethical, philosophical issues with what we are doing, like showing games, getting people to play, is something that is deeper. Is something deep. Sorry. So there are a lot of very good books that have been written, theory books, etc., etc. Maybe we could popularize. Sorry, my English there is lacking. Popularize it. Some of it, I mean, like simplify it. You understand what I say. So me struggling with English is a very good introduction for the next slide, because the next slide is about translations. So it is very sad that everyone in Duolingo is either studying English, French, or Spanish. I just learned it. But I feel that Gaia is an international community, and it's also a lot about the local scenes. So sometimes I'm a bit sad that we do everything in English. And I was thinking, why do we use the language of the empire when we could be using language of other empires like Chinese, Spanish, other things? I don't know. Just thought about it. I think that translations could be interesting. Also, translation could maybe lead to publishers, local publisher getting interested about the project. Maybe we could have like different editions that actually have a life in different places. So this is the last idea. This is not going to happen because we have no money. And still, it's, why do you want to make a book? You want to make a book because you want something nice. So I was thinking about cool paper printing, very unlikely to happen. But I want to remind you that almost everything that I said here was pure speculation, very unlikely to happen. So this is just the exercises of dreaming big. So on a more serious note, what do I actually need now? You. So there is a form that is probably shared in the chat. I can see it right now. And what do we need is a team. And in this team, we need writers, we need editors. Editors are people that are going to improve what the writer did in a very collaborative way, some kind of a second pass on every text. And also we would need ideally 2 or 3 people, which we call project leaders, which would be like kind of organizing everything with me. So if you can take some time, like right now, to fill the form, if you're interested, it would be really great. It's a super fast, super easy form. You can just put your email and say, I want to write, and then send it. You don't have to like write complicated informations. But still, I want to say a last word is that the Game Arts Curator Toolkit is mostly about Gaia, about the people that make Gaia. It's about us. It's something that we do together, and it's something concrete. It's something that stays, because not so many projects we can do where everybody has a possibility to participate. Everybody can do something about it, and I think GACK is this. So I hope to find some people to dream big with me about this. What do you think about it? I think we'll open the discussion here. Chaz and I, we can like answer your questions, hear your thoughts, and even if you could just fill the form in case you're interested, it would be great. And so now it's I'm opening the moment where we can answer your question. You can type the question if you don't want to open the mic.
But if you do feel so bold as to unmute yourself and actually speak on the call, you may do so. You're welcome to. Okay. But if you want to throw anything, you may also use this time to just fill out the form, so it's just done. You don't have to worry about it later. And if you have a suggestion that you wrote into the last box of the form that you feel like sharing, just copy paste that into chat. We'll try to address it.
Hey.
Hi.
Hello. I was wondering, so just to be sure, you said that it would be mostly online this time, or
I
think
think
they know.
I think the idea is that we work online and we publish online, first of all, because it's a good way of doing this participatory thing. And of course, it's very important that it's available for free. But also, if we can do something nice with images and print it, I don't know if there are translations, maybe get some publishers involved. So I think it's a two-step thing. But obviously, the so-called project leaders have to have a meeting and kind of decide a way. Of course, I'm going to take some inspiration to the way Chaz, Renee, and the other worked. But the idea is to, I mean, everything is to, we have to invent it together. If people feel like it should be only online, it can be only online. If people want a book, it's up to everyone.
I really like the idea of making it like interactive and participatory for super nice and more visual. Also, very good idea. Looking forward. That's super.
Yeah, a playful book would be nice. Would be, I think, would be very pertinent. It would be very on point with what we do.
Yeah, since a lot of the information, all the information is kind of in the first one is static and sort of reflects a particular moment in history and people working in a particular decade. Having dynamic style writing, right, that they're sort of like formulas or programs or games that anyone can enact in order to generate an idea, or maybe like a whole format for an exhibition, kind of like a Fluxus score or something, I think is an appealing idea because it's very much on the same mission, but a totally different approach.
And it's going to take a lot of time because it's a book, and it takes even more time when it's completely participatory. So it's like an adventure. I think this adventure will go on for some time. So we are at the very early stage where we just say we want to do it, but then it's up to all of you to decide if we do it and how we do it.
I had a half question, half comment kind of thing. You mentioned at the start that you were considering broadening or considering what the format of it might be. Because as you said, the kit part exists.
Yeah.
Would you be interested in, because I personally would love to hear about what everyone is working on, what they're curating. I wonder if that's something that this, whatever format you end up including, would support, something that kind of just shared stories about what people are working on currently, curation wise.
Yes, absolutely. It's I think I said like interviews, but it can be different forms. But the idea is to have not only writers, but also to reflect the diversity of our experiences, the things that we did. I think if we can have faces, voices of everyone, make it also maybe more personal, it can be a good starting point.
Sounds really cool.
I'll add a couple. No, go
Yeah.
ahead. You can.
Yeah, sorry. So, not a question, just a comment as well. I'm really excited to see this project grow and take a new chapter a fresh new chapter as well. I'm really honored to have contributed in the since like it began back in Gaia 2021, and it's exciting just to see the project take a fresh new take. I think that mostly, as Angelo was mentioning, this is like ideas space, like there's nothing written on stone yet. But I'm curious to see, hearing what Isabel mentioned about the format being also the intersection between arts and games and the desire to do it somehow playful. I'm curious to know if there should be some, interactive elements like in a virtual format, we could explore somehow, like in a game or something like that, to present the content itself. So I'm curious to just maybe leave it out there just to play with the idea, but for what it's worth, I really love to be part of this. And yeah, I will check out the form just after this Zoom call because my internet is not very well at the moment.
Yes, we can definitely do this in Minecraft or whatever if you want. There's no need. We can do it in a game. This is I think there's no limits to that. And also I want to reassure everyone that the form is super easy and it takes literally 1 minute to fill it. So it's not like a form where we ask you complicated things. But yeah, we can. I mean, I think Chaz and maybe he can add to that, but I think Chaz pointed out that the most important thing is the process, is like getting to do it together is the most important part of it, more than the result. And getting Gaians to do something together is the point. And then the result will probably be very different from what we imagine. But I think it's a nice project that we can all do together.
Following up on that conversation about format, Lynn, did you want to jump in? Okay. Yes, there's absolutely no commitment that it be any way, shape, or form. Like there was the structure of the writing exercise in 2021. But it's available, but completely not compulsory in any way for a second round. In the same way, like as far as the final deliverable thing, it could be anything. However, I'll just put it out there. There is an editorial team and a publisher who are interested and ready to do like a second publication. So if it turned out to be still like anything that is on paper, and that paper turns, whatever that format can hold, that is a nice amenity that's sort of, it's rare just to have that before you, right? So there is an opportunity there for everyone involved to be to have a sort of a scholarly citation, if in fact that final product turns out to look like a book.
Also, I would add that it also your involvement depend also on the time you have available. I think as a writer, it's not so much time consuming, so you can like bring your little stone, or if you want to be editor or project leader, it's more time. But I think you can also choose how much do you want to get involved, and depending on the people. Yes, and as Marie is saying, people that are more comfortable writing their questions can also write
I also wanted to know if you already have like a sort of calendar in mind, like for the next step.
I was thinking that after this meeting, I would see who's interested to kind of really get involved, and that we will take all of the decisions together. So yeah, I didn't want to go too far without the collective approval of everyone. But yeah, I think we can kind of use what the thing that they used for GACK one and improve it if we want to use different tools or whatever. We can.
So if I can just jump in for a minute, I feel not so, I feel like I should be careful about commenting because I haven't actually looked at the GACK, which is terrible because I did actually know it was there. And so I'm going to do that. But I'm wondering if one of the ways to start would also be to have people contribute like how they see the approach or the structure or whatever you want to call it, not because we have to close any of those things down, but just to sort of get things moving in terms of ideas about, how to structure it. So you suggested, Angelo, you suggested interviews, which is a great suggestion. Like, do other people have other different approaches, you know? So it just seems to me that that might be generative.
Yes, so in the form, I think the last part is some kind of a brainstorm kind of question where you can like propose, and then we will look for, I mean, we will meet again outside of the official Gaia's meetups and try to organize around this. And yeah, it's like we there is a strong precedent and a success because it was GACK 1, but at the same time we can completely reinvent it. So this is very open. And of
May
course,
I just jump in?
sorry, yeah.
Well, let me finish off.
Yeah.
It's okay.
No, we'll go.
Well, no, yeah. So, hi, both. I just thought that this is actually a really cool idea, and that I feel like this is, well, sadly, this is the first time I'm hearing it, but also good news. But that this feels like that this could have a lot of expansion packs. Actually, in my head, when you were just explaining it, there was just like, oh, it could be that, or it could be this. And one of the things that really resonated was that when I'm usually working with people, I try to hold down my ideas and just create a structure that allows for other people to put in their ideas. So I feel like the thing that came first in mind is like, oh, okay, this could be so great that there's so many curators out there from so many different backgrounds and methodologies that this GACK could also be not just the answer in a book, but it could also be somewhat like a structure that collects thoughts and methodologies from different curators, and then that could actually become the book as well, in terms, if you know what I mean, just like a drawing book, right? It just comes with the lines, which is the structure bit, and you fill it up with different colors and formats. And so that's kind of how I see that these curators in this room and like everywhere else are basically the colors to your drawing book. And the GACK kind of, I saw it like that outline that allows you to put in these colors. And so if if the book itself was curated to become not the texts or like not the information, but the questions. If you could curate the questions and design the questions really well, that they could become a space for curators to think, rethink, but also share in a very concise manner. And then those can, be compacted enough to create like even chapters. Like, well, I'm in Ethiopia, based in Africa, but also mostly in Europe as well. The African chapter, the European chapter, or like the Latin America chapter of GACK, and so on. And so I feel like this could be such a beautiful documentation that grows and becomes like a documentary of everybody who has lived. It's like a little DNA of curators. So just that came to mind. Thanks for
Yes,
starting this, Gaia.
yes. Doing a book is something a bit authoritarian in nature, like kind of telling people what to do. But I think with this kind of ideas and the way we work, we can sort of bypass it and go toward the direction of what you're saying. This is the idea. So if I don't know, with the time we're a bit we have a bit more time, maybe we can leave a minute or so if somebody else has a question, or we can take a longer break before the next session. Maybe share the last time. I'm gonna share the form one last time because it's really important that we keep a trace of it. Otherwise, it's okay if we wrap this up a little bit early.
I just want to add also, if people have other ideas, if you think, oh, this is a great resource, and also this other thing would be useful, yeah, it's a good place to find each other. I want to help with the curator's kit. I want to help with everything, you know, if there's time. But yeah, keep that in mind. And grab a link to the form. I filled in the form. It was very fast. I put in my email twice, and then I wrote a note. The end.
Yeah, like it gives me the sort of fleeting additional idea that like there's this sort of first episode, which is I guess this established a short tradition, which is called Game Arts Curator's Kit. If there's something that doesn't really, that's an idea that still has that kind of the mission of doing something together that does produce this tangible product, but it shouldn't be called that. That would be like this would be another good opportunity just to pitch those ideas to the rest of Gaia through these forums, right? Maybe it's like an almanac of every exhibition that's ever done, you know, or something else. Anyway, go ahead, go nuts with all the ideas. And the GACK is a exciting structure because there is some tradition behind it, but it's not the only structure out there.
And I can see that we already have 12 answers, so it's great. It's a great start. Thank you for giving us your email. Well, I think we can wrap it up, Marie and Lou, maybe?
Yeah, sure. We have 20 minutes to keep on thinking and brainstorming, living inspired by this session. And then we can return for our big closure with a playful session led by Emily Coons and the open mic, so we can all share our thoughts and our dreams for the next Gaia and for everything that we have related. I'm pasting the link in the chat. And yeah, thank you, Chaz and Angelo, for taking the lead, for continuing and thinking about this second part of the GACK.
My pleasure. Thanks for having us and letting me share the history thus far.
Bravo.
Thank you.
Okay.